Acebeam released super bright flashlight, incredibly advanced model with copper radiator and removable built-in fan. And that is not one more bright flashlight with a short turbo blitz like a lot of models. This is exactly the situation when you get extreme flashlight which is convenient in use. So let's take a closer look at Acebeam X75. The package here is a thick-walled cardboard box with a nice gift design. Good, but to be honest, not amazingly good. I've seen better boxes. Anyway, kit consists of almost everything you need: a flashlight itself, a silicone head cover, a 60 watts charging unit and a Type-C PD cable for it, O-rings, and what is it? It's a spare fan. By the way, why almost everything you need? Of course, a holster will be useless with such a weight of X75. It would be worth adding a shoulder strap to the kit. If its younger brother, Acebeam X50.2, was, for all its colossal brightness, a representative of the soda can format, then X75 is much larger, but that is not bulky flashlight at all. X75 pleases the eye with an abundance of all sorts of edges, sharp corners and other amenities of the brutal design. Impressive machining and construction. The flashlight is very far from what you usually see on store shelves. The flashlight can be disassembled into the battery pack and the head. The knurling of the battery pack is unusual and pleasant, but usually you use a handle, and knurling is not the matter of grip here. The tail cap hides a USB charging connector with LED indicators and a reset switch as well. Charging is fast, it takes like an hour and a half to fully charge the flashlight. And Acebeam didn't rely on the usual contact ring and used a thick and huge spring-loaded contact pad instead to make sure contact will be really tight. By the way, take a look at a bunch of these tunnels going up through the cooling fins. Both X50.2 and X75 have a lot common in design, but still you can see that X75 is significantly more advanced flashlight. It is more complicated in design and machining, and button as well is another approach. For example, they are located on the handle now in case of X75, and that is way more convenient when buttons are right beneath your fingers. The access to button is just really faster. The handle is ergonomic with good weight distribution, and there is a tripod mount on the opposite side from the handle. Manufacturer did a great job on handling heat dissipation, and let me tell you, X75 generates incredibly amount of heat just because it is incredibly bright flashlight. Cooling fins here are numerous and deep. They have the aforementioned through holes, and relying on cooling fins alone would be pointless here, so Acebeam took advantage of the built-in fan. And they put it not in the handle nor on the sides of the body, but behind a special copper radiator. This is sort of rocket science according to flashlight build standards, really advanced decision. And let me remind you that there is a spare fan in the kit. And one more stuff that I haven't seen in flashlight before is a shock absorbing silicone case on bezel, which also changes color when it gets hot, so it also serves as a heat indicator. Really unusual stuff and useful at the same time. And what about LEDs? There are a dozen medium-sized reflectors with either XHP70.2 or XHP70.3 to choose from. This is a higher brightness or native white light versus better throw, and I've got XHP70.3 version with better throw. This is de-domed LED without light diffusing silicone domes. And here are some pics of the flashlight internals. User interface. It is simple and convenient. Basically, this is the same user interface that Acebeam flashlights usually have, but it has an addition of one more button. This button is used to turn on or off built-in fans or to switch between eco and power modes. X75 has an excellent runtime in higher modes. Even the monstrous, colossal turbo mode lasts more than you would expect from 65 or 80,000 lumens. From a cold start, of course, repeated hot start dramatically reduces runtime, and this is not surprising. And of course the brightness is stabilized. That's not just a promise in promo pics like some other brand does. And what is also surprised me is that I turned on high mode on a cold balcony test, opened the window for some fresh air, and with built-in fan on, it was enough to keep this crazy brightness of 21,000 lumens to last for a very long time with an insignificant step down. And one more notice: 1000 lumens of ultra-low mode is the level that was standard of short-time turbo for ADC flashlight just like 5-6 years ago, until SST40 LED raised it to almost 2000 lumens. And here this is the ultra low mode with 9.5 hours of runtime. That's enough for the overnight use, of course, but I would prefer additional level of 300-400 lumens that will give a reserve for the second night. And 1000 lumens also will be too bright, blinding light for indoor use in a number of situations. Although, of course, who would choose a super bright flashlight like Acebeam X75 for indoor use? I should also mention that I measured that some modes worked longer and some worked shorter than stated. And the light itself. Light is awesome. It is far and wide. It can penetrate into the distance while maintaining a fair amount of side light, just exactly as you can see on the screen. And as for the light itself, again, let me remind you that I've got XHP70.3 version, and this is less bright but more long throw comparing to XHP70.2. As you can see, I've got two flashlights to compare here, X75 and X50.2. The last one has natural white XHP70.2 LEDs, and you can see the difference between natural white and cold white, and the difference between XHP70.3 with more throw and XHP70.2 with less throw but more side light. So there's a good choice to choose from. I mean, both versions of flashlights, X50.2 and X75, and LEDs, and that's great that Acebeam give this choice, because I know people who don't like natural white. Acebeam claims X75 to have 1300 meters of throw, but no. It gives some light within the range of like 1 kilometer, but really good and useful light in turbo mode can be achieved within range of like 600 or 700, no more. That's just not that sort of really throwy flashlight. You need a K75 to penetrate really far. And within this range you can highlight completely anything. Just take a look on the display. And within the range of like 100 meters you don't need high or turbo mode at all. You've got the hours of runtime in the mode like mid 1, and this is the brightness that will let you to work within the radius of 100 meters, and that's great. Acebeam again successfully copes with a task that many other brands fail. It is a task to make flashlight with maximum possible brightness or throw, and at the same time the flashlight convenient to use and not a marketing toy with a short turbo blitz. Acebeam can do all needed, and I'm sincerely happy with each of their flashlight. Stylish, comfortable and practical. Though there are rare exceptions when they make just a good flashlight, not a great one. X75 is just proof that Acebeam can. This is an extraordinarily, extremely advanced flashlight, in every detail of which you can see the attention to both design and engineering, and which many manufacturers forget, to the convenience and logic of real use. What can I say? They even added a spare fan in the kit, although they could sell fan separately and ask a hefty price for it. I think Acebeam X75 looks amazingly attractive. Although there is something to improve here, for example, is to add some elements of color anodizing then look of the X75 would be simply irresistible. And the flashlight has a capacious power supply. It works in power bank mode with 100 watts power, really surprisingly high power. The user interface, the access to button is convenient. There is a thread for tripod. There's a handle, and the handle is a really logical addition to such a flashlight. Built-in fan again lets you work in higher modes. They are not decorative like some other super bright flashlight, which you just cannot hold after a couple of minutes. And what is downside of it is the price. This is the flagship model in the Acebeam model line, so the price is on the level of the flagship model, and that's up to your budget. If you can afford the stuff with most extreme characteristic, this is Acebeam X75. If you would like to check the price of X75 or to buy it, just follow links below video. There are links to store where you can buy this flashlight and some codes to save money with. And if you are budget limited or you need some other flashlight, check my channel. I bet you will find something more appropriate your needs and budget. That's all. Bye.